Hope springs eternal, and that's never more true for the Royals in 2011. Coming up on this Spring Royals Report, defense is not only an emphasis, it's a priority this season.
He's pushing me to a level that I never been pushed before.
On the mound, if lefties are oddballs, then the Royals are loaded with oddballs.
But it's the envy of baseball sometimes, you know, if you have a good lefty.
Plus, we'll sit down with the orchestrator of this team.
I want to get to a point where we expect to win every year.
And the man in charge of putting together the pieces.
They're a very talented group of young players, but you know, they want to do something special here.
All that and who's playing, plus who's playing where. Get to know the Royals next on the Royals Report. Sunny Surprise, Arizona. The Royals spring home now for the 9th straight year, and that's where we are. Hello and welcome to the Royals Report here on Metro Sports. My name is Mick Shaffer. We are here in Surprise, Arizona, where it is spring, and spring is great because of a lot of things, not just because of the weather, but also because of the baseball. What's great about that is now is the time when you kind of find out your team's identity. And for the Royals in 2011, it's going to be a brand new identity. After leading the Royals with a .318 batting average in 2010, Billy Butler is back to anchor the lineup while splitting time at first base and DH.
I'm not trying to do anything different. I'm trying to go out there and just be the productive player that I've been and continue to move that way. I mean, hopefully keep producing and yeah, ultimately it comes down to wins. I mean, it's not a one-man show. It's a team game.
Alternating with Butler should be slugger Keela Kaihui, the 27-year-old, expected to make his first opening day after 9 years in the minor leagues.
My birthday is going to be the 29th, the last day of camp. So I mean, that will probably have to top my list as the best birthday present I've ever received. Yeah.
Second baseman Chris Getz battled injury in 2010. He'll have to stay healthy and improve on his .237 batting average from a year ago to hold off competition from the likes of Jeff Bianchi, who's recovering from the same reconstructive elbow surgery that Mike Aviles went through.
I told him, I was like, if your elbow is messed up now, why not have the surgery? You have a full year. I mean, either way, if you go out, all you're going to do is put up a poor performance. I was like, just look at what I did. I was like, I didn't do anything spectacular. I was like playing through pain, and you don't do anything good.
Aviles' bat will be back in the lineup, but his glove will be over at third base this season. Another year, another position for the versatile Aviles.
They trust me enough to where, you know, I'm not a liability out there on the field. So I think that's a good thing. I think having the options is always a good thing. I mean, eventually, I'd like to settle down in one position, but for right now, that's, you know, not what the situation calls for.
Defensive whiz Alcides Escobar has the most major league experience of those coming over in the Greinke trade. Shortstop is his. Veteran Wilson Badamy figures to be a good utility option in the infield. And in the outfield, things are a little more congested. Alex Gordon will start the season in his new position, which is left field. Will he stay there, however, is the question. Gordon's only played 123 games the past 2 seasons.
You know, he works very hard, as we all know. He's got one of the most sculpted bodies in camp. But at the same time, you've got to have you know, baseball toughness and baseball strength and baseball flexibility to be out there. And sometimes the more soft tissue you have is somewhat better in our game.
A couple of free agents should start as well. Melky Cabrera will play center after spending most of his career there as a New York Yankee. And Jeff Francoeur will play right field after spending most of his career as an Atlanta Brave.
This is an organization that is about to start winning and winning a lot. And for me, you know, I'd love to be a part of that. I feel comfortable here. You know, obviously the guys here are great teammates, and you know, it's something that I'd love to be a part of, absolutely, no doubt.
Longtime Royal Mitch Meyer has a good shot at being the team's 4th outfielder. But don't count out guys like Lorenzo Cain, another one of those guys from Milwaukee.
With Milwaukee, you know, they knew what I could do, you know, and over here is you know, you got to go out and prove yourself each and every day. So, like I say, it's fun, but you know, it feel like eyes on you, but at the same time, you got to try to enjoy it, you know, and have fun with it.
Dayton Moore is starting his 5th full season as general manager of these Kansas City Royals, and it'll be a transitional season as the Royals figure to have the lowest payroll in the big leagues, but the brightest future in the minor leagues. And 2011's roster should be an ever-changing one. talked to Mike Aviles and a couple of other guys that said, you know, nobody out there expects us to do much this year in 2011. We kind of like that. We kind of like having no expectations, because that's when a lot of times you jump up and you bite people and you win more games. What's your feeling on that?
I understand that mindset, but I want to get to a point where we expect to win every year, and everybody's you got to have your A game every single night to win, and that's where we need to be moving forward, because ultimately that type of mindset and that type of talent is going to keep feeding off each other, and you're going to keep getting better and better and better. And we've got to get to a point where it's reversed.
I know it's early here, but we've talked to a lot of the guys that have come over from the Grinky. Trey Lorenzo Kane, good guy to talk to. Alcides Escobar getting rave reviews as well. Jeffress can pop the mitt, and Odorizzi as well. So far, I guess in March, do you like what you've received from the Grinky and Betancourt trade?
We do. You know, we liked the deal when we did it, and then getting to know the players, watch them perform, we like it even more. Yeah. Now, certainly the next test will be once they get to the major leagues and see how they perform, and we feel that they all can be championship pieces for us. But they're good people. Obviously, with Jeffress, you know, we had a cloud surrounding him, but he's a very charming kid. He tries to do the right thing, and I trust the support system we have here in Kansas City to help him navigate through some of the things that he has to navigate through.
It seemed the last couple of years the rotation was a known quantity. It wasn't, you know, best in the major leagues or anything like that, but it was good and was a known quantity. Maybe not so much this year. How would you characterize the starting five?
More depth, certainly not as much experience. We need Luke Hochevar to have somewhat of a breakout year. Kyle Davies, we think, is going to be consistent for us. He's been very good in camp. The fastball command has been exceptional down in the zone. That's important, and he's kind of changed his arm slot a little bit. It's a little more low three-quarter instead of high three-quarter, which is allowing him to repeat his delivery better. You know, Mazzaro, O'Sullivan, two guys that are competing. They need to, they're big, strong guys, 23 and 24. They've got upside. They're capable of giving us some innings. And, of course, you know, we talked about Hochevar. And we're looking at Duffy. We're looking at Crow. We'll see how that unfolds there. And you know what? Mike Montgomery is somebody that can come very, very quickly. And I wouldn't count him out.
I was going to say, he's going to make that decision hard.
He could. Yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys, once he gets in the strike zone consistently with his fastball, he's going to come very, very quickly.
Lefty power pitcher.
Yeah, he is, and he's got tremendous angle. You know, he's a tall pitcher with a high three-quarter arm slot, and the angle for the hitter is very difficult.
This is one of the best hitting teams in the American League last year. Can that be repeated?
Well, we were for average. We
were average.
We were. You know, but I want we got to see more production. We got to see more on base ability, and we got to see more production. You know, we've got to make sure, you know, Billy Butler, who we think is going to be a tremendous run producer at some point in time, was a little deficient last year. He had a lot of RBI opportunities, and it just didn't come through, and that happens. But we think, obviously, we signed Billy to potentially a 5-year contract, so we believe that he will be a run producer in the middle of our lineup. But we got to produce runs. We got to take advantage of our opportunities. We need to run the bases well. We need to make sure that, as I said, we work the counts, get ourselves in a good position to hit. And, you know, Kevin's got a very simple offensive approach for our hitters. Not all of them can develop within that style. I mean, some guys are more pull conscious than up the middle conscious. But I think potentially we can be a very solid offensive team.
One way Dayton Moore tried to get better this offseason was defensively. After all, in 2009, the Royals ranked last in the American League in both fielding percentage and in errors. But things got even worse last season. Percentage point worse defensively, 5 more errors as well. Defense, mission number 1 this year. Defense, defense, defense. Yeah, it's all you hear around Royal spring training these days.
Pitching and defense wins championships. So that's always going to be the focus, is we've got to play very solid fundamental baseball, but we've got to be able to catch it. We've got to be able to turn to when the opportunity presents itself.
After allowing 137 stolen bases last season, Royals manager Ned Yost has made sure his catchers get the message.
I mean, I got a lot of respect for other skippers that I have before, but with Ned, you know, he's pushing me to a level that I never been pushed before. And you know, I really enjoy, you know, and really like it, and because you know, he expects so much out of me that you know, nobody ever expects that, you know, from me.
Yeah, well, I expect a lot out of him, and you know what? This is the big leagues, and I expect you to learn the game. I expect you to give your best effort because, you know, quite frankly, this is the greatest opportunity that any of these players will ever have.
And Yost almost doesn't care what his second baseman, shortstop, and center fielder do offensively. It's all about the glove.
Great defensive plays change the momentum of a game, just like big hits do, and it's an important part of it. And defense is predicated on athleticism, focus, and concentration. So you can be a great athlete, but if you can't focus and you can't concentrate and you don't have the intensity mentally, you won't be successful.
Other areas figure to improve as well. Billy Butler continues to improve at first, and right fielder Jeff Francoeur is annually among the league leaders in outfield assists.
Offensively, you're going to struggle at times, you're going to have your good times, bad times, but defensively, you always can hustle and play hard.
Still to come on the Royals report. In order to catch it, someone's got to throw it. We'll look at a Grinky-less, meshless starting rotation and call out some names to watch out of the bullpen. Hint, a lot of these guys will be left-handed. Plus, Ned Yost in his first spring training with the Royals. What's his style, his approach, and what does he want out of camp?
Spring training is probably as important as anything that we do in the season because you set the tone.
Welcome back to the Royals Report here on Metro Sports. I am Mick Shaffer in Surprise, Arizona. You know, last segment we talked about catching the baseball. Now let's talk about the guys that'll be throwing it for the Kansas City Royals in 2011. The closer is back, just with a brand new nickname. A couple of starters are back in the rotation, but everything else in between is kind of up in the air, and it's leaning decidedly left. Both Luke Hochevar and Kyle Davies enter their fourth full years in the rotation. Hochevar missed half of last season with an elbow injury, while Davies put in a workman-like 32 starts.
You know, if you work hard on some of the stuff that you should be working on, whether it be your conditioning or your, you know, keeping your arm in shape and working, you know, smaller muscles in your arm, I think that, you know, some guys can stay more healthy than others, and a lot of it's genetics, so, and luck.
It lingered and lingered and lingered. You know, I figured, you know, I miss a start, maybe 2 starts, 3 at the most, and I'm back in there. Never did I once think it was going to be 2.5 months.
Behind those two lie opportunity. Jeff Francis was signed from the Colorado Rockies. The tall lefty has World Series experience.
When I was a young player, we had a group of guys similar to this who were highly touted, had a lot of potential, and people talked a lot about the minor league system and how strong it was.
A couple of AL West transplants will be in the mix as well. Former A. Vin Mazzaro coming over in the David DeJesus trade. Former Angel Sean O'Sullivan joined the team last season after the Alberto Callaspo swap. But don't forget Bruce Chen. After all, the oldest pitcher on the roster led the Royals in wins last season.
You know, I got the chance to start. And not only to start, but I had to build up myself up to starting again. So it was definitely special. It was a hard year, but you know, it definitely was very rewarding for me.
Several young guns are gunning for starting spots too. Everett Teaford went 14-4 in the minors last season, and Nathan Adcock is the team's Rule 5 guy.
You got to perform.
Yeah.
You got to perform, and you know, nothing's going to be given to me. You got to go up there and put up good numbers and compete and work your butt off.
I made a couple of mechanical adjustments and was kind of easier with my motion, and you know, my velocity went up and my location got a little better, and you put those two things together, you're gonna be all right.
Out of the pen, guys like Danny Duffy, Tim Collins, Blake Wood, Greg Holland, and others are fighting for jobs. Robinson Tejeda will once again be a setup man for Joakim Soria, who made another All-Star game in 2010 and also set a career high in saves.
A lot of competition right now here in the camp. There are a lot of young guys in here, and I can fight without a spot. I mean, there's a lot of open spot in there, and I think that's the plan. I have a lot of competition in here, and that makes it interesting.
Take a look at the pitching numbers for the Royals a year ago. Way down in ERA, almost a 5 ERA. That was lowest in the American League. Walks and strikeouts were both 11th out of 14 teams in the AL. Only 3 shutouts in 2010. They were 4th, however, with all of Soria's saves. Pleased to be joined now by Royals skipper Ned Yost. Skip, it's your first spring with this club. What do you look to get out of camp, out of spring?
Well, spring training is probably as important as anything that we do in the season, because you set the tone. You're able to have them know exactly the way that you want to play the game, the way you want to run the bases, the way you want to be fundamentally sound, your thoughts and ideas. You know, coming in the middle of the season last year, it's tough. You know, it's tough to make changes. It's tough to instill your style of play, because you know what, they're fighting for their lives out there during the season. That stuff is all done in spring training, and setting the tone is the most important part. This is what we're going to do, setting your expectations, and then going through a 6-week period where they get it ingrained into their systems. So it's very, very important in terms of that. And these kids have done a really, really good job of doing everything that we've asked them to do. They're a very talented group of young players, but you know, they want to do something special here. So they're all ears, and they do just about anything you ask them to do.
I imagine it's even more so important because it's kids, because the roster is so young. What are the challenges, or maybe just the differences in leading a group this early in the spring that is so young?
No challenges. That's the fun part about it.
Really?
Because these kids all are great makeup kids. They're all kids that have a real winning mindset because they've won together every step of the way up.
Does that show? I mean, you can always see potential, you can always see ability.
Oh, no doubt. No, it's very, very important. Yeah, exactly. You can see it and feel their energy every time they get in the game. And you know what? They've won at AA. They've won. You know, they'll go together and win at AAA, and they'll expect to win at the big league level too. So it's all they know, and that's really cool to have a real talented group of kids that you know, play together and play hard with each other and for each other to win ball games.
You like this team?
I love this team. Yeah, it's a great. The excitement level is so high right now. One, because we've got so many kids their first time in big league spring training. And that's fun for the kids, it's fun for the veterans, because they're all great kids. None of these kids, as much hype as they've had, has walked into that clubhouse thinking that they're a big shot. Right. And that's very unique. A lot of times, you know, you get kids in there and you got to break them, you know, you got to break them down. Yeah, you're not as good as you think you are. We don't have those issues here. These kids are all very smart, very well-grounded young men that are really good baseball players.
They only comprise about 10% of the population, but when it comes to the Royals, left-handers are dominant.
It's weird when you have lefties outnumbering the right-handers.
On the 40-man roster, there are only 4 left-handed pitchers, but Bruce Chen, Jeff Francis, and Everett Tieford all figure to make the team in some capacity.
You talk about having left-handed pitchers, it's something that it's the envy of baseball sometimes.
We've always wanted to have at least 2 to 3 left-handers in our rotation. We think it fits our ballpark. It matches up well in our division. I'd like to have 6 or 7 left-handers on the team, to be very candid with you, as long as those left-handers can get right-hand hitters out.
But of the non-roster guys and prospects in Major League camp, 8 of the 14 pitchers are left-handed, including prospects John Land, Danny Duffy, and Mike Montgomery.
There's plenty of left-handed arms around, and I don't look at it in a negative way, thinking, oh, well, that makes it that much harder on me. I mean, to be honest, it's that much more to learn from.
So 12 lefties in camp, and most have a shot at breaking it.
Lefties are such a valuable commodity in this game nowadays. You know, ideally I'd like to have 2, maybe even 3 in the pen. And if I can have 2 or 3 starting rotation, that's great too.
More to come on the Royals Report. New year means new faces, whether they come from inside or outside of the organization. We'll do some introductions when we return. Also, it's not every day you lose a Cy Young Award winner. What's the fallout from the Greinke trade, and how much did it help the Royals out? That and more still to come on the Royals Report. A refresher here, the Royals traded away Zach Greinke in December. but they got some things in return. In fact, 4 prospects in the Milwaukee Brewers organization coming over to Kansas City. Alcides Escobar was their everyday shortstop in Milwaukee last season. Lorenzo Cain got some big league experience in 2010. Jeremy Jeffress has some big league baggage, but some big league stuff off the mound as well. And Jake Odorizzi is a first-round pick from 2008. Welcome back. You know, Zach Greinke and Unieski Betancourt are gone, but replacing them from the Milwaukee Brewers are 4 new fresh faces in the organization. And if you throw in free agency and the natural progression of guys up the organizational ladder, well, there's going to be some get-to-know-you involved with these 2011 Royals. 4 new from the Brew Crew, as many as 3 of them could see the majors in 2011. Both Jeremy Jeffress and Jake Odorizzi can pop the mitt, and both Alcides Escobar and Lorenzo Cain are more ready defensively than offensively.
Right now, I've just been in spring training, just working on my plate discipline right now. So just focusing on that and just staying on my approach, you know, line drive hitter, just being consistent at the plate. So that's my main focus right now.
There's a Jeff Francis and a Jeff Francoeur, both mostly known to the National League. Both have played in the World Series. Francis, 2007 with the Rockies. Francoeur last season with the Rangers.
It's funny with all the turnover in baseball that you join a new team and not know anybody, but it's what you get. I mean, it's a young team, and it's what you'd expect, I guess. And I'm certainly excited to be part of this team right now.
Dayton, obviously, he was in my house when I was 18 that signed. Yeah. And you ask any guy, whether it's Dayton or someone else, you know, it's always kind of special that first time you connect and meet with somebody.
And he may not be a new face, but in 2011, Ke'Lakai Hui will get his first real chance in the big leagues. I joined now by Royal slugger Ke'Lakai Hui, and I guess it's kind of a unique thing in the clubhouse. A couple Hawaiian guys in there, right? You got Kaneko in there.
Me and Tex, holding it down.
Is it becoming a more popular sport?
Per capita, we do okay.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. All right, let's talk about this year coming in. You know, you and Billy kind of look the DH first base spot. Have you thought about it, or has it been told to you how it's going to break down? As far as percentage and ratio, what days you're going to be?
I mean, they just told us that you know, to be ready to play, and we're going to split time, and you know, whatever's best for the team, it's going to work out.
9 years in the minor leagues. Does it seem like it was that long?
At times it did. Right now it doesn't. You know, I've kind of moved on from that. You know, I mean, everybody's seen my numbers in the minor leagues and kind of expected to be in the big leagues, and you know, I'm considering it as a new task and a new challenge that you know, goals that I'm setting for myself are all new. You know, I mean, it's a new experience for me, and it's like, you know, I get to start all over. I'm kind of rejuvenated. I feel like I'm 18 again, and you know, it's a pretty exciting time.
How many dingers could you hit full major league season here? Do you even set goals like that? Do you look at numbers as far as homers? But
I try to hit 300. I mean, that's my main goal, because if I hit 300, you know, scoring the ball up that many times, there's a pretty good chance that, you know, 20 plus or whatever are going to fly out of the park. And, you know, going into a season, that's always my main goal.
So you're not as worried about slug or power numbers as people might think?
I don't focus on that. I mean, if I put the barrel on the ball enough times, you know, with my size and my God-given ability, you know, I mean, it's just something that's going to happen.
Believe it or not, we've got more on the way on the Royals Report. Mike Aviles is back at a new position and with a new number. We'll get the thoughts of the always energetic Royals infielder next. The Royals are in the midst of searching for their catcher of the future in 2011. Right now, the catcher of the present is Jason Kendall, the oldest guy on the roster. However, Kendall is recovering from shoulder surgery and may not yet be ready for opening day. That means an opportunity for guys like Brian Pena.
Ned said that it's a wide open, you know, position for every single one here in camp, and so, you know, Jason comes because everybody knows that you know, this is Jason's team, and you know, I just, you know, me particularly just a backup, you know, trying to cover, you know, the areas that you know, until Jason can, you know, comes back.
Pleased to be joined now by Royals third baseman Mike Aviles. It's another year, another position, right? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, that's just, I mean, that's kind of the theme. It's just wherever the team needs me for that season, and I'm fortunate enough, I'm athletic enough to pull it off. So, if that's the need for right now, then so be it.
You talk about how athletic you are. Do you almost wish you were a prototypical one thing or another, maybe less athletic, and you wouldn't get moved around so much?
I don't know. I think it might hurt me if I wasn't as athletic. I mean, if I was pigeonholed into one spot, it would be, if someone beat me out of that one spot, then I'm to the bench. But in my situation now, it's if they have options with me, they can put me around in the infield, and they trust me enough to where I'm not a liability out there on the field. So I think that's a good thing. I think having the options is always a good thing. I mean, eventually, I'd like to settle down in one position, but for right now, that's not what the situation calls for.
And I guess it's a sign too that the elbow feels fine.
Oh, yeah,
you're able to make that throw.
Absolutely, I can make the throw. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all, and I feel fine.
You looked at, especially late last year, you had the live bat. It looked like you were seeing the ball as well as you were in 2008.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even throughout the whole year, I felt like I did a pretty good job. I just didn't have the sock that I needed, and I just didn't feel that strength in that top hand to just drive through the ball. And towards the end of the year, I started feeling better, and that's when I was able to actually drive the ball and start to feel back to normal. And it actually feels completely different. I feel like a whole different person. I'm like, yes, I'm back to myself. So it's kind of cool to be back to normal.
Is this going to be a team that's going to be in kind of transition the next couple of years? Because, I mean, you can't ignore the farm system, literally the best farm system the Royals have ever had. They're calling it the best in baseball and everything. I mean, with these guys moving up, is it going to be kind of a transitional period here for the Royals?
I don't necessarily think so. I mean, I know it's going to, the farm system is eventually going to come up. And that's just how baseball it is. People get replaced, and it happens that way. But I think, people aren't expecting us to win too many games. And that, I actually like that. And I know a lot of the guys in the locker room do like that because, that's when we're going to come up and sneak some games out because we have a lot of good talent in there. Whether it's young, old, it doesn't matter. I mean, talent is talent. Yeah. And the way we have talent. We might make some dumb mistakes because we are a little younger, but, that goes with it. But, I mean, I think on a whole, we're going to sneak up and win some games.
Yeah, spring is great for the newness, for the weather, for the baseball, for everything. But you know what also is great? Yeah, the summer. That'll do it for this show from Surprise. We'll see you back in Kansas City for The Real Thing.
This has been a production of Metro Sports and Time Warner Cable, Kansas City.